Hello, everyone. My name is Karen Clairman, and my apologies for some technical difficulty, which I think we have all ironed out. I am co-chair of CU Real Estate's event committee and am a real estate lender who will be starting a new job at First National Bank of Omaha, nicknamed FNBO, later this month. I want to thank you all for registering for today's Zoom call. We are going to focus on the impact of the pandemic on skiing and the mountain communities and provide insight into what the post-COVID situation might look like. This is our second Fireside Chat, which is a monthly event where we discuss a real estate related topic and use breakout rooms to facilitate networking with other participants and learn more from our speakers. So please mark your calendars for the second Wednesday of every month from noon to 1:30, because that's when we'll have these fireside chats. Now it is my pleasure to introduce the moderator of this panel discussion, Brad Siegel. Brad currently serves as Market General Manager for Denison Parking. He oversees a portfolio of managed commercial parking assets and leads the efforts of expanding Denison's business services throughout Colorado. Prior to this role, Brad spent 10 years in commercial real estate brokerage, asset management, investments, and commercial mortgage banking. Brad earned a Bachelor of Arts and an MBA from the University of Colorado in Boulder. Go Buffs. And now I would like to turn the mic over to Brad so you can introduce our speakers.
Okay, thank you, Karen, and good afternoon, everyone out there in virtual audience land. My name is Brad Siegel. I'm a member of the CU Real Estate Council. It's a real privilege for me to be here today and be able to participate in this fantastic program that we have planned for you. Before we begin, I want to express some gratitude towards the CU Real Estate Center, everyone involved that helped put this program together. A special thank you, Richard Morgan with Academy Bank, for all of your efforts in getting us to the finish line here today. Audience, we have a big crowd out there. We can actually see some of you right now. I don't know if we'll be able to going forward. We have over 100 people signed up, which is a great testament to the CU Real Estate Center as well as the speaker panel that we have lined up. Audience members, we can see some of you, some not. I think during the speaker panels, your backgrounds will go away and your cameras will go off and you're muted. So good news for you, we won't be able to see what's going on in the background. So pressure's off. So here we are, we're on another Zoom call, and we are still talking about COVID-related issues. And I think at this point, we're all pretty ready and excited to get back to in-person conferences where we see each other and talk about something else. But good news, this is a fun one. This is a happy one. This isn't going to be so much doom and gloom that we're used to throughout some of these Zoom calls during the COVID months. This conversation, I think, is going to focus on a lot of the stuff that we love to do outdoors, a lot of the places that we love to visit up in the mountains, because that's what we're talking about today, is our beloved mountain towns and communities. And hopefully when we're all done, we will all feel a little more re-energized to go visit one of them if we haven't in a while. So our mountain towns, our mountain communities, the ski resorts there, the ski industry as a whole, the real estate, the people, the economics that make up those communities. What's going on the last 11 months? What do things look like today? And where do we see things going forward in the future as we all deal with the new global changes that we are? To help facilitate this conversation, we've got four incredible panelists who are all true leaders and experts in their various geographies, as well as areas which they manage, operate, and develop. And we're very thankful that they've all donated their knowledge and time to be with us today. So here's how it's going to go. I am going to introduce each one of our panelists. I'll read a little bit about them. I'm then going to turn the mic over to them. They'll have some time to address the audience directly, present some slides. Once we go around the room and each panelist has had some time to speak, we're going to come back with some Q&A. some pre-planned, some we can look at via the chat window. Audience, you will have the opportunity throughout this program to submit some questions, so feel free to do so. So we'll do some Q&A. Then once we're done with that period, we're actually going to break up our audience into some smaller virtual chat rooms. I think we have about 4. There'll be a moderator in each one of those, and that'll be an opportunity for our audience to chat with our speakers, continue on with the conversation Q&A period. Then when we're done with that, we'll just circle up as a big group, get some final thoughts, and close out from there. So with that, let's get rocking and rolling with our panelists. First one I'd like to introduce is Mr. Walter A. Buz Koelbel. Mr. Buz Koelbel, he's the president and CEO of Kobold and Company. Founded in 1952 by Buz's father, Walter Koelbel, Kobold and Company is one of the most iconic and long-standing real estate names in the state of Colorado. Buz continued the family real estate development tradition when he joined the firm in 1976 and he became president in 1985. Since that time, he has shepherded the development, management, and investment activities that produce many of the premier residential, commercial, and retail projects in the Denver metro area and in mountain resort communities. More recently, he has established Kobold as a leader in affordable housing, workforce housing for low-income and moderate-income Coloradans. As a business leader committed to serving the communities where we live, work, and play, Buz's past and current service with community service organizations includes, not limited to, the Urban Land Institute, where he's been a member and past trustee of the Recreational Development Council, the Denver South Economic Development Partnership, a member and past chair of the Board of Governors, vice chairman of the Economic Literacy of Colorado, board member of the Denver Museum of Nature and Science, and Buz is certainly no stranger to the University of Colorado and Leeds School of Business and the CU Real Estate Center. So Mr. Koelbel, it's always a pleasure to have you here. Thank you for being here, and we'll turn the floor over to you now.
Thank you, Brad. Everybody hear me all right? Well, a couple of things. I would have cut that introduction down to get a few more slides on, but anyway, thanks, Brad. Appreciate that. And I'm going to start out by a couple of stories here. And I think Matt and Johnny are really going to appreciate this. In 1960, my dad was approached by a guy by the name of Peter Seibert to see if he wanted to invest in a thing in the future called Vail. And my dad did not have the $10,000 to do it, and a lot of his friends did. And 3 or 4 years later, he knew he had missed an opportunity, and he went down Valley when there was only 5 lifts in Vail, no Lion's Head. He went down Valley in about 105 acres, what is now Cascade Village and Glen Lyon. And so I would tell you that was the beginning, having been born and raised in Colorado and skied since I was 6 years old. We always believed in the importance and the fun of utilizing the wonders of outdoor Colorado. And that's when it all started. So, and as Brad mentioned, we're participating in most of the food groups of real estate except for industrial. And I would tell you that what I'm going to say today, it is a much more happier note than some of the other sectors of real estate. Because I think right now this whole issue of resort, recreation, outdoor utilization is something that is on even a bigger upswing than in the past. So Lisa, can you get my slides up? You can go to the next one now. So we participated in a study, helped fund a study called the Economic Impacts of Outdoor Recreation, particularly in Grand County. And there's some things here that I think are very poignant about what's happening post-COVID. Next slide. The outdoor recreation and tourism, next slide, Lisa, in Grand County, if we can get there. Hopefully we can switch slides here. Lisa, can you hear us? You got to back up a little bit. One more. Yeah, there you go. So now outdoor recreation and tourism in Grand County is going to do nothing but increase. Next slide, please. And I'm putting, next slide. I'm putting some of this up here just as an understanding. 50,000 average users on the Fraser Trail each year. 4.6 million to Rocky Mountain National Park. Over 1,000 miles of trails. More Nordic trails and longer Nordic season than anywhere else in North America, right in Grand County. The largest natural body. There's a bunch of other things on there that show what a great place Grand County is. Next slide. We all know the various components of what people do, but if you think about other states and why so many people are moving here, skiing, sightseeing, hiking, biking, Rocky Mountain National Park, snowshoeing, snowmobiling, road biking, fishing. You look at the list of amenities and things that people can do to enjoy the wonders of outdoor Colorado is truly amazing. And I think that's why we're going to continue to be a magnet for people to move from other places during and past COVID. Next slide, please. One key thing here that's important for everybody to know, this is statewide. Nearly 4 times as many direct jobs, 230,000 as the oil and gas industry and the mining industry combined. So some people, sometimes we forget about how important this industry is. I think that tells you right there, it is huge. Next slide. This is the conclusions of the study. Go to the next slide, please. Again, this all has to do, all the things that we've had in Colorado have been great, but when you think about it now, post-COVID, outdoor recreation and tourism accounts for 61% of Grand County economy, over 8,000 of the 10,000 jobs, 73% of sales taxes collected in the county due to that. Second homes account for 72% of residential property value, and homes closer to outdoor recreation assets being shown 58% greater dollar per square foot value. So again, these are all the results of what's happening now, and some of this has been some dramatic increases. Next slide, please. Our rendezvous, 67 miles from Denver, trailside living, hop-on access to all these trails, minutes shuttle ride to Winter Park. We have a club rendezvous at the base of the mountain. It's an alpine club where people can pick their skis up and come and go. Fishing right out the back door, either in the river or Mary's Pond. You got every mountain adventure out your back door. This is what people are looking for. We have a variety of mountain offerings and price satisfaction. Next slide, please. All right, this one I'm going to take you back just a little bit because we're not just talking about COVID necessarily, but I thought it would be really important to kind of tell you what's happened. We've been involved in a rendezvous since the year 2000. And we're in a different kind of cycle now. But if you look at 2009, in 08, there was $425 million of sales in Grand County. In 09, it went down to 224, the next year 238, the next year 214, the next year 271, the next year 290. Those 5 years, I would tell you, that was an economic cycle and it devastated us. We went 5 years and only made 6 or 7 sales, except for you have to build product for people to want. We had 25 spec homes that were up, and my curse was the blessing of a lot of people because I had to sell all 25 of those at a dramatic loss to get rid of them, or the banks were moving in on me. So I wanted to give that historical perspective to see what happens with economic cycles versus maybe what happens with the kind of cycle we're in right now. So if you look at those figures and then you go up to entire year 2020, 994 million in sales in Grand County. So I think what that tells you is, and a lot of that was post-COVID or during COVID driven. And I think it's important to kind of see the kind of history, particularly we've been through up in Grand County. So now if you go to the next slide, please. If we look at this, the COVID impact, we came to a screeching halt March, April, May, and June. And I'll be honest with you, I had visions of the 2008, 2009 through 12 financial crisis and the Great Recession impacting us again. And then all of a sudden, people started deciding that they weren't going to give up on life. They wanted to enjoy things. So we had a steady ramp up since then. We've experienced a steady increase in sales. Current level of qualified traffic is the greatest in our history, with over 50 a week. We believe that this is attributable to the following. Buyers want out of the city, a break from the in-town home. Winter Park is only an hour and a half from home, and it's a perfect safe getaway. We have some buyers that want more flexibility to get away and spend more time up here, flex back and forth between a home in Denver and work remotely up in Winter Park. And because they don't, as much as they used to, they've learned that they don't necessarily have to stay in town as long as they did. So I think what you're seeing now is Rendezvous, interestingly enough, is a development. We're about 1,100 acres on what was originally a stagecoach stop, the second one out of Denver. The first stop, if you wanted to come up to the mountains, was the Peck House in Empire. The second one was right where Rendezvous is. And little did we know, but we came up with the name Rendezvous, and we found out Billy Cousins, who owned the stagecoach stop, called it the Rendezvous. So we have now a rendezvous for people to gather with families and generational. Next slide, please. Let me give you a little perspective on what's happened, what happened pre and post. And we've come up with several new product types. Won't spend too much time on them, but we had total sales in 2018 of 39 compared to 5 or 6 over 5 years in between 9 and 12, 13. 19, we had 29. 20, we had 34. If you look at the bottom lower right, we closed 98 homes in 3 years, which is a remarkable upturn. It shows Grant County was already on an upswing. We currently have 30 homes under contract. And we have learned over the years, people want to see it, feel it, touch it. All 30 of the homes that we are currently under construction with spec are under contract. That has never happened before in our history. So next slide, please. We've got a variety of kind of product. The one at the top I'll pay special attention to. We came up in 2018 with a buckhorn paired cabin. We came out in the high 3s, the low 4s, because we knew a new price point and a new buyer profile was interested in this. We've gone up 41% per square foot on the sales on that. We also have Elkhorn townhomes, which are townhomes. We have pronghorn triplexes, moosehorn cabins, ramshorn cabins. So we range now between the 600s up to $1.3 million or $1.4 million. So next slide, please. This will show you a little bit of where we are with our buyers. Younger families are a third, mature couples are 26%, singles 3%, multi-generational, a whole new big factor, 28%. Next slide, please. So Rendezvous remains 70% front range, 30% out of state, handful of California, broader age range, multi-generations, primary residence for some people, 15 to 20% rent out. Hey, Brad, how's my time?
Keep going. You're good.
Next slide, please. Look at this is what's happened both in Rendezvous and also with COVID. Selling season has expanded. It's now year round. It never used to be. Buyers want to buy what they can see. So we do have to start specs, which increases the risk. Buyers are spending year-round time with summer eclipsing now winter because it's focused on a lot of the wellness activities that people can get. And we've got a lot of wellness activities on our trails with all the trails out the back door. New slide, please. So this is what we've had to do. We diversified and we unified by several product trends. Spanned a broad range of product types from vertical, attached townhomes, larger single family, detached, to stratify the offerings and pricing as well as provide something for everyone. We now have sizes that range from 1,100 to 3,500 square feet. And you can see the different kind of product types down there on the picture. So, I'll do the next slide, and then I may give time for other people. But here's the trends that we have done that have influenced our floor plans. Open flow from kitchen to family room and great rooms, large kitchen islands in informal family areas, dual masters for the multi-generations, multiple gathering spaces designed for adults to have separate spaces, flex spaces, ideal for the type of people that will be there, generous outdoor decks and patios. All of those things are important. Here's something that's very interesting. The first 8 or 9 years, we sold over 50 individual lots for people to build custom homes. We've only sold 2 or 3 of those the last 3 years because everybody wants to see something. They don't want to have to go find a lot, buy it, hire an architect, hire a builder, get it built. They want to get it done. That's why we've increased our price point up at Rendezvous to almost maybe as high as $1.5 million. So I think with that, the rest of it gets into some of the other types of product we're doing. I want to make sure that we leave time for the other speakers and certainly can get into some of the questions about the product. But I think, as I said in the beginning, this is one of the most dynamic and interesting spaces in real estate. And it is so unexpected based on what we were thinking about in March, April, and May and where we'd be today. And I think it's the most fun and exciting place to be. So with that, I better stop and turn it over to the next one.
Okay, thank you, Buzz. Very cool stuff up there. I was just Googling Rendezvous listings while you were speaking. So we'll go quick. Next up, we have Mr. Mcinet. Mcinet has been the Community Development Director for the Town of Vail since 2018. Matt has 19 years of municipal planning and management experience in the region. Prior to that, he was the planning manager for the town of Silverthorne and worked in Avon and Vail before that. In his current role, Matt is responsible for the leadership and management direction for current and long-term range planning, design and plan review, building safety inspections, code and zoning regulations, as well as regulatory compliance. So with that, Matt, again, Community Director for the Community Development Director for the Town of Vail. Let's hand it over to you.
Thank you. And excuse me, good afternoon, everybody. Happy to be here. You know, as my role in the Community Development Director position, not directly involved in real estate, but I didn't want to bore everybody with a bunch of geeky planning oriented stuff and talking about long range plans, although those are certainly important. I'd also like to say I can speak directly to anything related to our numbers this year in terms of skier volume, hotel occupancy, etc. All very good news. We were planning for a crisis budget mode of about 75% of what we saw last year in terms of sales tax revenue and rooms, but we're very fortunate to be nowhere near that low, and in fact, in some areas much higher. So I'll jump right into my slides, and I tried to tailor it to the audience, knowing that you're all real estate professionals, but hopefully I'm not boring you with numbers that you already know. Next slide, please, Lisa. So we really saw in the spring and summer, you know, things were very slow right after March and the pandemic hit. We were really trying to figure out what was going to happen, just like Buzz was saying earlier, and anticipating a really bad year in terms of new development activity. And then we realized, you know, the folks who come here really want to experience the lifestyle. It was all about the lifestyle. So we had returning guests, second homeowners who became primary residents, many people moving in from out of state, which I'll cover a little bit later. So we realized here that, you know, in the spring and summer, it was slow at the beginning of the summer, and then it really took off. And then so we had this wave of new residents really looking to make the upper end of the Vail Valley their permanent home. And that was evidenced by our real estate numbers in 2020. So we did have a record year at $3.5 billion in sales for 2020. If you look at our population and the number of units, it's pretty incredible. And some of that can be accounted for with unprecedented unit sales numbers and also prices. We did have a home go for $54 million. So you can see kind of how that number can escalate very quickly. And then we saw a 24% increase above last year's levels. We had units topping 1,700. And then that again, residential dollar volume exceeded 2019 by 52%. And 2019 was a fairly strong year. Next slide, please. So during the holidays, as we know, they're typically slower for real estate transactions. And in the fourth quarter, we saw a record number of sales again, with single family and duplex home sales up 67.25% over 2019. Just in the condo and townhome market, those were up 92, almost 93% over the same period in 2019. And this is again, fourth quarter numbers. So that's when really things jumped. As you'll see in the next bullet, most of those transactions occurred in the second half of the year, July through December. So that was accounting for $2 billion of about $2.6 billion in sales. And then again, speaking to the holidays and sort of the unprecedented level of interest in purchasing, buyer demand went up 74% between Thanksgiving and the New Year over the same period in the 2019 holiday period. So really astonishing. And like I said earlier, we saw things really take off in July and August with people coming back to Vail like we traditionally see in the summer. I mean, we've become more year-round resort. And so that activity, obviously, tons of people driving around looking at real estate and buying real estate because they have the money. Next slide, please. So a bit of an understatement to say it's a seller's market in the fourth quarter. Average list prices were up 8.43% over the previous year and 10.5% over fourth quarter 2019. And then year over year totals jumped about 20% in average list price. And that's across the board. Those are average sales prices. And then with that heightened buyer demand, the number of days on the market dropped about 11%. And that was averaging out to 111 days. So that 11% is over what we saw in fourth quarter of 2019. Next slide, please. Some interesting facts here. We had a lot of sales from buyers on the Front Range. Those increased by over 20%, up from 15%, which was a trend from 2015 through 2019. And then buyers from out of state accounted for 20% of those 2020 sales. Again, that lifestyle really driving the market. People want to move here for the lifestyle that they see, in our marketing, and also from folks who come here skiing quite often. And then, we typically do have quite a number of buyers from Texas, but we've never really seen the influx from Southern California. And it's interesting because people are now willing to drive because of the fear and the reality of flying during a pandemic. And so folks bought real estate and do travel back and forth between Southern California and Vail. Also wanted to say, what you don't see in this presentation is really the number of home renovations, and fairly significant ones. We were above where we were in 2019 for home renovations and remodels, additions, those kinds of things. We saw a lot of folks building new outdoor living spaces with full kitchens, full outdoor kitchens to be able to entertain. And also a lot of folks who expanded and just enhanced kind of their indoor-outdoor living interfaces with their homes. So I'm going to leave it at that. But again, during the question and answer, I'm happy to answer any questions about Vail, skiing, future of the ski industry and the pandemic, etc. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Matt. You made that very real estate focused. That was great. Certainly great work you've done in the village and allowing all of us to sit outside with more cocktails in our hands than before. Next up, Mr. Ken Ryder. Ken is General Manager of Brundage Resort in McCall, Idaho. Brundage is independently owned, located high in the mountains of central Idaho. Ken began his career at Brundage in 2017 as Assistant General Manager and Director of Sales and Marketing. Prior to that, Ken held positions with Grand Harry Resort in Alta, Wyoming, Tamarack Resort in Tamarack, Idaho, and Copper Mountain in Colorado. And most importantly, Ken received an MBA from the University of Colorado Boulder in 1998. So Ken, thank you for being back at a CU program today, and take it away.
Thanks, Brad. Go Buffs, right? So this first slide, when all the real estate buyers that Buz is talking to and all the potential buyers that Matt may be coming across start talking about busy days at Winter Park and Vail, this is a picture of a busy day at Brundage. So go ahead, next slide. Brundage is located about 110 miles north of Boise, Idaho, home of the blue football turf. And in 2016, Skiing Magazine labeled it as one of the last great places. And we do have the best snow in Idaho. So we're in Idaho, a little mountain called Brundage, where the snow falls in abundance and the faint pulse of the ski culture your parents wax nostalgic about can still be felt. Go ahead, next slide. My presentation is going to be more about code effects on what we had to do beginning March 14th last year. We actually closed on March 17th, a couple of days after most of the Colorado resorts were closed down from the issue of Governor Polis. So Brundage was opened in 1961, about 2,000 acres of lift access terrain. We've got permitted terrain for 3,300 acres, 6 lifts, 64 named runs, average about 340 inches of snow, which is pretty decent by most resort standards. We've got an 18,000 acre backcountry snowcat skiing operation. And we also run a snowmobile operation right out of the base of the resort on hundreds of miles of snowmobile trails and terrain. And most recently, the Brundage Mountain team reacquired 387 acres of undeveloped private land in the base area, which, go ahead, next slide. You know, Brundage has been a family-owned resort for many, many years, and a new investment group came together led by my boss, Bob Looper, who's the president of our board, and bought the resort from the DeBoer family over in November. Crazy thing to do during a COVID year, buy a ski resort. You know, they often say, how do you make $1 million owning a ski resort? Well, you start with 10 million. We're trying to buck that trend, but you know, our focus right now is to redevelop our mid and long range plans on that 387 acres and redo our master development plan with the U.S. Forest Service. We're actually working with the SE group out of Silverthorne on a lot of our plans and redialing those in. Go ahead, next slide. Basically, you know, last March 17th, when the world came to a screeching halt for us, you know, just like everybody here, we were wondering what we were going to do. We sat down, sent everybody home, obviously, and started putting our plans together. And we came out, basically took everything that we were doing, every single business operation, every single department, re-envisioned everything from entrance to exit of a guest. And what we came up with was something that actually worked very well in the summer. Just like Buz and Matt were talking about, our visitation in the summertime was up substantially. A lot of people are trying to get out, get away from the urban areas, get into a rural setting, and have some room to roam. Our visitation was up this summer by 25% over a normal year. And we had reforecasted to do about half of a normal year. So to be up that much over the course of the summer was great. You know, we saw a lot of increased visitation from second homeowners in the McCall community. McCall is a town of about 4,000 permanent residents. And the local estimates are we tripled that population with the second homeowners coming in and basically deciding to work remotely and live in McCall for the duration of their quarantine period. And some of them, quite a few of them have stayed. We saw increased occupancy in the rental markets. And we saw that mass migration from people moving out of the urban areas into rural areas. You know, around the community, our campsites, campgrounds, the side of the road were overrun with people out recreating and wanting things to do. Moving forward, we then prepared for winter. Once again, we reforecasted the entire budgeting of all of our departments, shook the globe up, and redeveloped everything. As of right now, we're very pleasantly surprised with our visitation. Our visitation is up over previous years. It's really led by season pass holders. And we are seeing a strong partnerships with some collaborative season passes that we do. The Indy Pass, we're one of the founding members of that. We see strong visitation from them. So people are still moving around the Mountain West and the Rocky Mountains, visiting resorts and looking for places to land in the future. So go ahead, next slide. The big thing that we focused on this winter from the learnings that we saw this summer was that urban to rural migration. We did plan on additional regional visitation, and we actually, I believe Matt talked about the influx from people from Southern California. We are seeing that as well. Our typical drive market is usually 4.5 to 5 hours, and we're seeing a drive market of about 12 hours right now. So that's substantially changed from previous years. And then just our overall increased population in McCall. We've seen our midweek visitation grow substantially. The weekends are still very busy, but our biggest growth was midweek, which is great to see. Some things that we're continuing to struggle with, just like many mountain communities, employee housing, with more and more people using their homes, moving into their second homes. We are starting to see the push of the employee housing opportunities decrease, but we have worked with a number of other resorts in the community and developed some partnerships where we're actually increasing employee housing. A couple of things that we've done ourselves. We own an RV park, and we're working on putting some additional employee housing units in the RV park. And then we also own 116 acres just outside of McCall that we're looking at opportunities for employee housing as well. So all in all, COVID operations have been significantly challenging. We're making it out through our visitation. A lot of our ancillary businesses are not doing so well, but through the increase of our overall visitation, we're having a good season. Things that we're looking forward to moving out of COVID is taking the things that were significantly successful, like online reservations for ticket sales and things like that, and implementing them in the future and continuing that. So go ahead and go to the next slide. Actually, you can go to the next one. So we're having a great season, even though our snow's down 30% over a normal year. We're having significant snowfall, and this is kind of what you're seeing at Brundage over the last couple of weeks. A lot of happy people with some great powder shots. So that's kind of my rundown.
Perfect. Thank you, Ken.
Yep.
Looks like you're having a good season there, and thank you again for coming back for a CU event. All right, next up, we have Mr. Johnny Pfeiffer. Johnny is currently president and CEO of Slifer Smith & Frampton Real Estate as of today. Johnny has over 20 years of real estate experience, with 17 years of their time working in the luxury second home markets of the top major Colorado ski resort communities. He has 8 years of real estate management experience, has completed $500 million in personal sales volume, and is now a top producing broker and team lead on 4 major new development projects. In his current role, Johnny serves as president and employing broker of one of the top real estate companies in the United States, with a sales volume of over $3.5 billion annually. Today, Johnny manages 31 offices, 280 brokers, 80 employees across multiple regions, including Denver, Vail, Beaver Creek, Aspen, Snowmass, Breckenridge, and Keystone. So pretty much all the mountain homes that we all dream of owning one day, Johnny sells those. So Johnny, thanks for being here. It's all yours.
Thanks, Bradley. Thank you so much. And I'll do my best, y'all, not to be redundant, because our story is very similar to the rest of the panel. Matt's slides were phenomenal, the exact statistics. So thank you to him setting us up so well. One story I will start before I go into my presentation. Word to the wise, never share your bio, as Bradley just read, and as Buz said so poignantly, I would have shortened that from those slides. But don't ever send your bio to your mother. Thankfully, in my hometown, I'm still good friends with my high school best friend whose family owns our local newspaper, and he asked me, did I know my mom was going to put that in the paper? So fortunately that did not make it in the paper, and I am not embarrassed in the middle of Kansas. So anyway, but with that, as Valley said, I'm Johnny Pfeiffer with Pfeiffer Chat. We are headquartered in the Vail Valley. However, we do have offices stretching from Aspen all the way to Denver and are situated throughout the ski resorts up and down I-70. Next slide, please. So as you can see, as I mentioned, this is kind of a map of all of our locations of our 31 offices. We are typically located in the downtown zones of each of our communities in heavy foot traffic region, highly resort focused. We do have some more local oriented offices as well to full-time residents, but the majority of our business is situated, of course, in resorts. And we still depend heavily on foot traffic. I think a lot of people are thinking brick and mortar is over, and for a lot of purposes it is, but in the resort markets, we get a substantial amount of our business from our offices and our signage. So that's huge for us. So next slide, please. This one I'll spend a few minutes on. It's still hard to see this number in writing and to process it. I've been with Pfeiffer now 17 years. And our typical, I would say a typical year for us across all of our regions combined is about 2.2 billion in sales. As Matt shared, Eagle County was 3.6 million alone. We did 2.2 billion of that as a company in the Valley. But across all regions, we hit this number, which we never have in our 60 years of being in business. Rod Pfeiffer founded Pfeiffer, Smith and Frampton with Harry Frampton and Mark Smith. Rod was the first mayor of Vail. They're iconic in our community. A lot of our history was development based with these partners. And what I think we were also shocked about, as everyone's already shared with you, March 15th, our ski resorts closed. And none of us could process that. We were sitting in our corporate office and saying, wow, we have to shut down Pfeiffer for the first time in 62 years. And our town shut down literally in the middle of the heart of spring break. And I can remember within a week, our accountant calling me and saying, of the 180 million we have pending, we have zero. Everyone terminated their contracts with the announcement of the pandemic and the shutting down of our resorts. I can assure you, as the president and CEO of an iconic company that's locally owned, and it's a family, that weighed heavily on me. And I remember calling the partners and said, what do we do? And they're like, how the heck do we know? We've never had this happen before. We don't know what to tell you. So I'm very blessed to not be super smart, but to have a very smart management team. And I'm very proud of them because out of our 80 employees, we laid off none. And our management team voluntarily all took significant pay cuts and eliminated bonuses. And so we could keep our entire team. Because the problem is if we laid people off, there's nowhere for them to go to get a job. Our towns were closed. So we came out of it intact as a team. We're all very proud of that, very lucky for that. And then June 1st, we were forecasting, as I know others had said, about 75% down for the rest of the year come June 1st. June 15th was a fire hose. The entire world decided they were moving to some area of Colorado and also Idaho, as I've just said. But they came in droves and they didn't leave. And we created whole new communities almost overnight. It was incredible. And we were so lucky to have all of these new people from Texas, California, the Midwest, Chicago, everywhere. And they were so excited to become local, and they were relying on our brokers and our company to help them become local. And we ran out of inventory. So typically right now in the town that I live in, I'd say there's probably about 50 to 75 residential listings at any one time. As of today, there are zero. There's not a single home for sale in my town that I live in. Condo, townhome, duplex, nothing. As Matt shared, we had a $57 million record sale for a duplex in 2020 in Vail. We have a $49 million new listing in Aspen that is getting activity beyond comprehension. And probably the coolest stat is we sold all of our ranch listings. We've had ranch listings, my vice president's on this call, Sarah Roberts, and we've had ranch listings for years that they're all gone, sold them all. And my favorite story is one sold to a family from New York City. Dad and mom say, hey, we're moving the kids to Colorado and we're buying a ranch. They did. And now they're learning what it's like to go from Manhattan to 3,000 acres in the middle of nowhere in Colorado. It is a major life change for them. I can assure you, they still don't process the fact that they don't have internet out there. So anyway, we changed a lot as a community. Our populations have increased, and we have new communities. It's so fun. Most of our neighborhoods are second homeowners, and you can have 5, 6 homes in a row that are empty and used part-time. And now we have real neighbors, and it's just an exciting new vitality to all of our valleys, and something we could have never imagined. And it's literally changed the world of mountain real estate in 6 months. We haven't advertised this very much. As you can imagine, there are a lot of businesses in our valleys that are suffering, still suffering badly. And so we became very community-based at that point instead of talking about ours. If you can hear me, just click on that next one for me.
Speak up a little more, Johnny.
Okay, no problem. So, and again, I just want to be careful with bragging too much. Again, we know there's industries that are really suffering, so we don't post a lot of this stuff, but we are blessed to be #1 in our major markets and very close to that in our secondary markets. And you can see those numbers I was speaking to earlier. So you can go to that next slide, please. One important membership that happened in the fall, you may have read that Forbes has ventured into real estate, and Pfeiffer, Smith & Frampton purchased part of their new real estate venture for Global Property. And so we are a founding partner. I'm on the board of directors. That has had a tremendous effect on us as a local company because we are locally owned and a family company. And we now have a very extensive national and international reach. And so we're very lucky for this affiliate. With the Forbes Global Properties, what we've done with this is to go back to becoming community-based. We've used the increase in business and exposure for Pfeiffer to promote to businesses, customers, our clients, and a lot of charities. We have a lot of charities suffering right now. And so Forbes has been a great partner in that for us, helping promote and bring the business to our local business. Right? That it? Oh, here we go. Thank you. Put the pause on my side. And at the end of the day, we had to switch our entire company to virtual overnight. The pandemic sent us home, and we had to keep the business going and keep our employees in jobs, and we just had to become overnight. It was incredible, and our team just jumped to it, and nobody skipped a beat. And we started our Welcome Home campaign because we quickly realized, as I said earlier, our second homeowners were coming to live full time. They didn't leave. And so at this point, with everything being closed, everything changing in our industry, we learned a new normal and we're enjoying it. And who knows what 2021 is going to bring, but we're ready for it. And it's back on the ride, and I'm looking forward to getting back fully open. And I'd say that's about it.
Okay, thank you, Johnny. And Johnny went to CSU, and he already informed me that because I went to CU and for any other buff, no price reduction on the $48 million home in Aspen right now. So if there are any Rams in the audience, you might have a better shot. So we're going to go quick because we're pinched on time, as we always are in virtual conferences. Let's do a quick question to our group before we go to our breakout sessions. I like kind of focusing on the positive aspects of what's going on here. So let's kind of hit a question that kind of centers around that. So we go and just go in our same order. Mr. Koelbel, we'll start with you. What do you see really is the greatest opportunity for visitors, for locals, operators like yourself, investors? Let's talk opportunity instead of some more declines or negativity. What's the opportunity out there for visitors coming, for locals, as well as resort operators going into this new year?
Well, I think the resort operator is going to have, their story hasn't completely played out yet, but the resort developers right now, I just feel that we're on a completely different trajectory than we've ever been, because what COVID did is let people know that they can work remotely, even if they want to be in the office a few days, and particularly with Rendezvous, which is only an hour and a half from Denver, I think the opportunity is changing our product even more. We've got 6 different product types, but the opportunity is providing more product for people who want a flex schedule or may want to move to the mountains or Grand County permanently and have a smaller home in Denver. And so I think it's giving us the opportunity to expand our product types and some of our price points. And millennials are now of age where they're buyers, so it gives us the opportunity to take advantage of the desire for these people to want to be part of the outdoors Colorado. As I said earlier, no other state has to offer what we do.
Can't argue with that.
Top.
Yeah, can't argue with that. Matt, how about you? Talk about opportunity for you at the Town of Vail and anybody visiting.
Sure. Yeah. I think echoing kind of what Buzz said, for the resort provider, and here it's the Vail Corp, and they've been focused on operations. They don't have a lot of time to work with the town on partnerships for housing developments, for example, et cetera. There's also, a great deal of opportunity for development right now. Like I said, people are, especially the second, third, fourth homeowners that we have in town, spent a lot of time in their properties and looked around and figured out all kinds of things they want to change, including scraping it entirely and rebuilding. It also has an opportunity for the town to take a look at our housing situation. I mean, obviously all this market demand and the crazy real estate season we had, or year, it's really put a pinch on locals and others, new home buyers who can't get in at all. Anything under $1 million in the Valley is rare and gets snapped up within days. It's on the market for less than a week. And that's no exaggeration. I think opportunities for visitors, obviously, is what it's been since the pandemic started, which is getting outside safely. With that, we've seen a lot of pressure on our trails in the summer when people started getting back outside. And we've had some real trail management issues with our more popular trailheads, with parking, trash left all up and down the trails. And, all of our town boundary is surrounded by Forest Service pretty much on all sides. So, but still, a great amount of opportunity for everyone here and for the town to plan ahead. So
Great. Thanks, Matt. Ken, how about you? Talk a little opportunity in Idaho.
Yeah, well, the opportunity here is there's twofold. We have a new ownership group that acquired the resort in November. And that 387 acres at the base area from a development side, it's a blank slate. And we're just starting to really investigate what type of product mix we think the consumers are going to demand in that location. So we're just really starting to work on the market analysis to figure out, what the potential could be there. So, that's on the development side. It's almost 400 acres of just raw land that's sitting there. And how do we develop that in a way to keep the Brundage look, tone, and feel, and to continue to keep that Brundage vibe alive that we currently so much enjoy. Our visitors come here because we're a family-friendly space. We're a family-friendly resort that has plenty of room to roam. Our opportunity is how do we intertwine those two together to offer a product to the people that want to have a home here or a second home, and then also keep the resort operation alive with the people that have been coming here for almost 60 years. So
Great.
Big opportunity.
And Johnny, lastly, talk about opportunity in the residential world. Obviously, luxury home sales have not been hurting this last year, but from local residents looking, maybe you have out-of-country buyers. Tell us about, in your world, where you're seeing the most opportunity.
I would say number one, our sister company, East West Partners, which is in Denver and in the mountains, building a lot of new products. So there's a lot of opportunities for those who want a second home property or a little pied-à-terre to grab one of those as we continue to go vertical with that. That's a great opportunity. I think number two, as Matt said, that we are struggling in the local housing market. our community's focused on that for our locals and to help them find achievable homeownership opportunities. It's at the top of our list. I'm sure he would agree with me on this. It's one of our top priorities. I think the pandemic and the success of real estate has pushed that to the forefront. So I see that as a huge positive because we know how important it is to have them here. And then lastly, please come here. I think we've all known, being in Colorado for so many years, there's always a little push and pull with second homeowners and locals and, oh, this is my territory. I'm telling you, a lot of that's gone now. I hear in restaurants, people, the servers saying, thank you so much for coming. Where are you from? Oh, I'm from Texas. So welcome. Thank goodness you're here. We've never realized more than ever that our mountain towns rely on second homeowners and tourists for our jobs, our way of lives. And we're so lucky to have them and have people wanting to visit all of our communities. And I think it's more of a welcome home and we're open and can't wait to have you back sign as soon as possible. I think that's the most exciting part for us, hopefully in the next 6 months.
Good. I love having Zoom calls about COVID and there's positivity in the air. Okay, thanks everybody. So given the timing, I think we should jump to our smaller breakout sessions. But good news, we can just keep this Q&A going. So we're gonna kind of break up the audience into some smaller chat rooms with one of our presenters, and you'll have the opportunity, either presenter, keep your answer going. We'll have a moderator in each room. They can present a question, and we can kind of have an open dialogue for about 15-ish minutes or so. So, okay, well, we all got kicked out of our little chat rooms, but let's do this. We only have a little bit of time remaining. Speakers, you were probably, presenters, you were probably just cut off mid-sentence. Sorry about that. So for the speakers, let's maybe go around if you want to finish up your sentence. Any last thoughts that you have on today's programs, the conversations that you were having? Let's spend a few minutes just kind of tidying those things up. And any particular speaker can go if they want to.
I'll go ahead. If nobody else wants to jump on, but yeah, I would say, you know, ending on a positive note, we've been pleasantly surprised with the quick turnaround that we've seen, like Johnny was speaking to, you know, planning for 75% reductions, you know, in budget and sales tax revenue, everything else, lodging and so forth. And then seeing this huge influx of visitors from both the Front Range and around the country, kind of starting in the summer and sustaining all the way through winter, you know, all of those real estate numbers and et cetera. Just, it also, the other side of that is it puts a lot of pressure on the community for the locals to be able to find housing and the town to find the right solutions and find land to build on. Because we have quite the scarcity of land up here. So I'll wrap up with that. But come on up. We're open. Hotels are at 100% capacity.
You know, some of the things we talked about, you know, I think one of the things we're all confronted with, and that is, what is the post-COVID world going to look like? I think it's accelerated certain changes that were already happening. And maybe even if you saw what the numbers in Grand County, after the financial crisis, the numbers were starting to increase, but they dramatically accelerated this year once people came out of the fog, or at least partially out of the fog. But there's going to be a lot of other things that everybody has to continue to pay attention to. How do you adapt to the evolving post-COVID world? But right now, one of the silver linings that we've seen, unlike maybe retail and some other areas, is that recreation, resort, and outdoors Colorado is going to be a beneficiary of some of the things that have occurred during and after COVID.
Agreed with that, Mr. Koelbel. Johnny or Ken?
Yeah, one thing I'd like to wrap up real quick, Jim Harrison, next time you're up, look me up, let's go ski. I think, you know, just like what Buz and Matt said, this ride isn't over. We're gonna continue to adapt and change and come out the other end on our post-COVID stress disorder hopefully better for all of us. So let's come up and visit.
Thanks, Ken. Johnny, any last thoughts?
Yeah, I would. First, thank you so much for having me. This was really awesome and not nearly as scary as I thought it would be. But at the end of the day, I think what's been so amazing for me in the industry, because I have a broad look given we stretch across the entire I-70 corridor, is we have a lot of partners, development partners and community partners and governmental partners. Everyone's trying to be better up here, and we're all looking forward to improve our communities and how we're doing things as we've just learned through all of this. Similar to what Ross just said, we're in a new world, it's a new normal. And what's really cool is I can tell you honestly, these communities are trying and they want to be better and want to make it a better experience for locals and visitors alike. And I feel pretty lucky to be a part of that. So thank you.
Okay, thanks, Johnny. All right, well, we are running out of time, and I just first want to thank our panelists graciously donating your time and your knowledge to be with us today. I hope everyone enjoyed this format. It's a little different, so it's a little challenging in virtual COVID times, but we really appreciate all of you being here. A couple of quick announcements on behalf of Mike Koelbel, Executive Director for the CU Real Estate Center. Just want to remind everyone, the 24th Annual Real Estate Forum is on March 4th. Information is on the CU Real Estate Center's website. It's kind of our Super Bowl of the year, so I hope you can check that out and join us for that. We have another Fireside Chat in April. We're going to skip March because of the forum, so we'll have a next event like this in April. So please keep an eye out in your emails for that one and sign up if you can. And certainly visit the CU Real Estate Center's website for other information. And if you're interested in joining the council, all the information is there as well. So again, thank you to our speakers. Thank you, Lisa Peck, Angela Koelbel, Karen Clairman, Mike Koelbel, Courtney Schneider, Richard Morgan, and everybody who made today possible. Thank you so much to our panelists. And that's it. Everyone stay safe, stay healthy, but go have some fun in our mountain towns. So that's it. Thank you, everyone.